To really understand the story, or maybe how it happened, you need to know a few things. I live in Belgium, and at the time of the events, around 2018, I lived at home with my parents, siblings, an older brother and sister, and my sweet dog. Looking back now, maybe my dog is a bit too sweet. Also important to note is that my family is all over the place. Everybody is always busy doing something. Everyone has a very different rhythm, and some days, we live next to each other instead of with each other. So that is why at the time, I didn't really know who was home and who wasn't. But we do love each other. So, in 2018, on a school night, I woke up to some noises in my room. I was confused and I looked at my phone. It was around 3 a.m. You know that feeling when you wake up very abruptly and don't know if you're dreaming or awake? That was kind of how I felt. There's a street light right at my window, so even though the curtains were closed, I could still make out some silhouettes and figures. As I just woke up, and wasn't really thinking, I thought the silhouette that I saw in my room was my older brother. I was sleep drunk, as you could call it, and started asking him what he was doing, but he didn't really react. I saw him walking towards my jewelry, and I asked him again what he was doing. Again, my brother didn't respond. I was still laying in bed, and I began to feel angry because I had school the next day, and I had to get up early. And as you do with irritating siblings, I started to yell at him. "Dude, get the F out, I have school tomorrow." This time he looked at me, but again, he didn't say anything. He started to walk toward my handbag and started looking in it and taking things out. At this point, I was just angry at my brother and finally got out of bed. Mind you, the lights are still off. I walked towards him and asked him again, "What the F are you doing? Get out." And I physically started pushing him slightly towards the door. Then he spoke. "Where's the money? Where's the money?" And like this very strange, almost fake accent. And seriously, I started laughing it off. I still thought that it was my brother. "Okay, I don't know if you're drunk or just being an a-hole, but get out." But this time, we were almost at the door, and I was still pushing him out, and he left and I closed the door. Finally, I thought as I went back to bed, but I started feeling unsettled. I got nervous and scared and started thinking it over. Did I smell cigarettes? My brother doesn't smoke, and why would he act so strange? So just to be sure, I texted my brother, "Where are you?" His answer made my heart sink to my knees. "I just left the gym. I'll be home in a minute." I immediately called him and frantically explained there was just someone in my room. I started crying as I was panicked and asking him what to do. He said to call the police and to stay in my room. As the gym was really close to our home, my brother came home like literally a minute or two later. I was still upstairs on the phone with the police while I heard my brother yell a whole lot of curse words and "get out." At that point, I was in the upstairs hallway because my sister woke up and was standing there too. My father had fallen asleep downstairs on the couch, so when he heard my brother scream, he immediately woke up and knew something was wrong. He went to the downstairs hallway and saw my brother chasing the intruder. At this point, they were already at the front door. My brother managed to take a backpack from the intruder, but sadly, he got away and fled. My brother did get a good look at him though. So the police came and I was actually in shock. All this time, my mother was asleep because she's on strong sleeping meds. She woke up during the chase when my sister and I were standing in the hallway. I was crying and she came up to us. I frantically told her what had happened and she said, "Ah, little one, that was a very bad dream. That's one of the things we still laugh about today." While we were talking to the police, we had to describe the person. I told them exactly what had happened and how he looked. Due to the streetlight, I could see the clothes that he was wearing. He had a hood on, so I didn't see his face, and when I was close, he always turned his back toward me. So I'm telling the police lady about his black pants and green hoodie, and then she abruptly stopped me. "Green? Your brother said light gray." That's the second time my heart dropped to my knees. There were two guys, not one. Both my brother and I were 100% sure about what we saw, so there had to have been two guys. They took a few iPads, phones, and wallets, but luckily, my brother took the backpack where there was a lot more valuable things that they didn't get away with. But the burglars were kind of stupid because we still had Find My on all our Apple devices, and they were still running. A day later, when we saw the location, my brother jumped in his car with my father while on the phone with the police. Really, my brother is pretty awesome. Going to the gym at night and he's in the military, chasing intruders through the house. I wouldn't mess with him. They waited for the police and they went in the house where the location of our devices were and found one guy. He was crying and covered in his own stuff. They arrested him and he confessed. He said that he was high on drugs and it was the first time he ever did something like that. He was very panicky and crying the whole time. My brother recognized him as the intruder that he had chased, so that meant the guy who was in my room was still out there. The guy eventually snitched on the other guy, but he was nowhere to be found. We all kind of got on with our lives, but I was really scarred. I slept with the lights on for more than a year, and every time I would wake up past 3 a.m., I wouldn't be able to go to sleep anymore. The intruder that they caught went to jail for a year. It was his first time. Ed is now in a rehab program. He has sent us a letter or two with our consent, and we kind of feel bad for him. He was traumatized too. But half a year ago, we heard that the second man was taken into custody. I was finally over it. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the beginning, but of course, I still got scared sometimes. But now they finally caught the man that was in my room. What we found out was unsettling by the least. While the dude that we found first didn't have a record before this happened, the dude who was in my room was a very, very experienced criminal. He had multiple possession charges, theft, drunk driving, and worst of all, assault and attempted homicide. The man that I talked to, cursed out and pushed out of my room at 3 a.m., was dangerous, and I'm very happy to be alive. So this happened about 13 years ago. I was 10 at the time and my brother was 8. We had just moved to a new town that year, and the Walmart here had this sweet arcade up near the service desk. So every time my parents would bring us grocery shopping, they would give us a few dollars and let us play in the arcade. The town had an incredibly low crime rate, and the arcade is at the front of the store where dozens of people are checking out. So what could possibly go wrong? My brother is playing the claw machine, while I'm standing on the side of the machine, trying to help him angle the claw perfectly above a stuffed animal that he's trying to get. Suddenly, this random hillbilly walks up to the claw machine next to us, inserts a quarter and begins moving the claw around. But for most of this time, he's making eye contact with my brother and smiling, not even watching the game. He's not talking to us, just staring and smiling. He has long, thin brown and silver hair, pulled back into a loose ponytail at the base of his skull, a camo trucker hat, and a long, scraggly beard. I remember vividly the way that he smelled. Stale beer, ashtray, and something that smelled like a sweet yet sour dirt, or a fungus. He tries making small talk with my brother and I, who were raised to be aware of strangers but still be polite. Eventually, we get bored of the game we're playing and I usher my brother to follow me to a new game, all the way on the opposite side of the arcade. A few seconds later, the man follows us, stationing himself once again at the claw machine next to us. At some point, an overweight lady walks in and says to the hillbilly, "What are you doing to these little kids?" and snickers at me. He replies, "I'm trying to win them some stuffed animals." She then begins playing the claw on the other side of us, so that my brother and I are sandwiched between these two strange hillbillies. His comment comes across as weird to me, because previously I thought he was maybe trying to win something for his kids, but this entire time, he's just been following my brother and I from game to game, trying to win us toys. This has been going on for maybe 20 minutes at this point, and they've followed us to several different machines and spent a lot of money. The games were all 25 cents per play. Each time, my brother and I switched machines, they would follow us. The hillbilly says to the lady, "I'm out of money, you got any?" She says, "Nah, I'm broke too." My brother says, "I have $1 still." Now, this is the part that really scared me. I remember listening to these two talk about some weird things with us, asking if I have a boyfriend, asking where we go to school, where our parents work, asking if we've ever done drugs. But when my brother said that he had $1, she responded with the most terrifying thing I'd heard from them yet. The woman suddenly burst out, "Oh crap, then give it to me, boy." Her face was red. The tone in which she shouted was so ear-piercing and gut-wrenching that I could feel the blood drain from my face. My brother looked like he was about to cry. He hands her the $1 and her face lights up. She laughs it off, almost like she's trying to make it seem like she was joking when she had yelled at us. My father walks up a couple of minutes later. As I turn to tell him that these people have spent close to $15 to win toys for us, they leave hurriedly before he gets a good look at them. My dad is livid. He takes us up to the front desk and tells them what I told them. They make an announcement on the intercom to keep an eye out for these people, and to report to an employee if they see them. And then they call the police. I don't actually remember this part, or much of anything after my father arrives, but this is what he told me. They never did find the couple, and the police reviewed security cameras. They were too blurry to make out any physical description, and told my parents that the couple left the store immediately after my father showed up, without any groceries. Every time that I see a man or a woman in Walmart that looks as I remember them, I get anxiety and try to avoid them. Early last year, I had a strange encounter that you all might find interesting. So, a quick tidbit about myself. I help people as often as I can, including giving money to homeless people, or giving rides to hitchhikers if we're going the same way. 98% of the time, the worst I've encountered is awkward conversations, and being asked if I have drugs to sell. No matter what though, I don't mess with people at night, or in groups, and I keep weaponry on hand though. I've never needed to show it. This is not one of those times. I lived in a lower income area of my city, and only about a half a mile from the local homeless shelter. So I've seen plenty of people in a sad state during the 2 years that I've lived here. My apartment building kind of sat in a little valley with a little ravine across the street that deer often hung out in. They liked our bus shelter on really rainy days. I lived on the 3rd floor. So one day, I come home. It's blowing snow at around 15 degrees out. In my entryway is a dude sitting on the staircase. It was obvious that he was homeless and looking for a place to warm up, as he was wearing 4 days' worth of clothing at once, and had 2 backpacks with him. Not a big deal as long as he's not there when the building is locked up for the day. Our security consisted of having locks set for a 9 to 5 office hour. As I pass him on the staircase, I give him a smile as I do to literally every other stranger, not screaming at me on the planet. He stops me and he tries to talk to me. Now it's obvious that he doesn't speak very good English, but I was able to discern that he was asking for water, and that he was waiting for a friend who lived in the building to come home. Yeah, no problem. I head up to my apartment to get water for him, and he follows me. This was a bit uncomfortable, but I was already having a hard time communicating with him, so I let it slide. And this is where things go wonky. My apartment was an efficiency where the bathroom was right inside the front door, and then a tiny hallway into, well, everything else. I walk to the kitchen to get the water and he points at the bathroom. Yeah, sure, dude. I have cleaning supplies. That's what they're there for. And so I go around the corner, pull out a couple of bottles of water from the fridge and come back. And he's standing there, buck naked in my hallway. And then it dawns on me. Water. He was asking for a shower. Oh God. And then he tries to ask me to join him. No, that's a hard pass. You understand, no. He goes into the shower and I pace in my living room trying to figure out how the frack I can communicate to him that he needs to leave. Cause things went from uncomfortable to creeptastic in 0.6 seconds. And then it got worse. He comes out again, buck naked, without a towel, and begins wandering around my apartment, commenting on everything. And his you-know-what is a little excited too. Did I mention that part? Yeah, I lose it. Politely, because once you're in retail, that never goes away. And I try to get him to put clothes on. He doesn't understand me. I pull out my phone, pull up Google Translate and show him the list of languages. He understood what I was asking and he selected Somalian. Goody, that's some progress. Now that the things he's commenting on, in terrible half-English, is, you live alone. Does this TV work? Nope. Done. I type into Google Translate, asking if he needed to call his friend or call the apartment management. He gives me a thumbs up and then climbs into my loft bed. I guess I'm cleaning that too now. So I'm like, which one? Another thumbs up. Okay, so he either didn't get what I was trying to do with the app after all, or he can't read. Eventually, my lizard brain took a breather from panicking long enough for the logic part of my brain to take over, and I went to where his clothes were and pointed at them and then at the door. He got dressed and left. Simple, done, over. I shake for about 2 hours, drink a 6-pack, and post what happened to Facebook. In that time, it dawns on me that I probably just got staked for theft. So I spend another hour double and triple checking my security camera, which I originally got to check on the puppy that I was training at the time, for later. Guess what? The next day, he was back on these stairs again. I tried to be pleasant, but made it very clear with head shakes and a roundabout trip back down the stairs, and back up the other flight on the other side of the building to my apartment, that I wasn't going to help him again, or be his buddy. 2 days after that, he was there again. I told the landlady, and she had him removed, and I never saw him again. And before you ask, no, nothing was stolen. I moved to the exact opposite end of the city 4 months ago. Things have been going well since then.